like, comment, subscribe. Hi folks, Dave with DBSTECHTALK, and today we're going to talk about the Tipsy Dunmer Pro. Do greatly appreciate Farsil sending these over for review. Farsil the Wizard, you rock. Alright, so these are handmade from Tipsy, and it says feeling a bit tipsy. They're on the box, and they are 16 ohms and 105 decibels of sensitivity. They have a 9.2 millimeter graphene driver and 2 BAs, or 2 balanced armatures, and they are pretty to look at. But we'll take care of that here in a second. Let's first just get the sound out of the way, and then we'll talk about build and just overall beauty of the in-ear. So the Tipsy Dunmer Pro has an aggressive V shape, and also it has a odd sound stage. So they were a interesting in-ear for me to wrap my ears around. Let's start with the sound stage. So the Tipsy Dunmer Pro has a unique soundstage in that it's not your normal straight across or slight U shape towards you. It is a recessed U or a reversed U. So the things on your right and your left will sound farther forward than the middle image. So as it goes towards you, so like if you start over here, when you get to the middle, it'll recess, and then when it comes back through to the left, it'll go across. So it's instead, whereas a lot of sound stages will go left, closer in, and then back out a little bit, or be straight across, and you just really feel like the center image is always farther back than the rest of the mix on the soundstage, and it can be really annoying and just odd. It's just a very unbalanced soundstage. Does a good job with details, does a good job with placement, so you actually know, like, okay, that's over here on the right side, okay, that's like right there, or that's right there. The problem is the depth of it is just thrown off because of that weird reversed U. Overall, starting with the bass. The bass is actually a little anemic. It is pretty linear to about 60 hertz, and then it'll kind of roll off. And you really do not get any sub bass whatsoever unless you add in a bass boost. And so the sub bass just doesn't give you any real. You just don't get that. I've always found myself wanting a little bit more. And then the mid bass is not really humped too much. It's got a slight hump, but it's not a whole lot. But it does give you a little bit of nice impact and some little bit of body to it. Overall, the details and clarity they're there, but they're not really prominent. It's detailed, but it's just, if you mix in a busy track or you add in bass boost, it becomes kind of one note. If you don't add in the bass boost, it'll sound more separated and isolated out in the instruments, and you can kind of determine what is what, but it just doesn't have that body and that that you want in a bass. Going into the mids, the lower mids sound thin. They just don't have any body to them. Male vocalists, instruments that reside in there, cellos, guitars, things like that, just don't have the crispness, just don't have the energy, just don't have that life and that body to really make them enjoyable. They just sound thin, and they're just lacking a little bit of just As you get into the mids and you climb towards the upper mids, it does fill in a little bit better. You get a little more detail and clarity in there. Female vocals sound a little smoother, a little bit more fleshed out. But the problem is it becomes a little aggressive. It gets borderline of being shouty. It's not shouty, but it's borderline. You know that if you take a couple steps, it's going to get there. And it's just, it walks that fine line. And as it climbs into the treble, you get into the lower treble and into the main treble regions, 8K, 10K-ish, and then it'll kind of drop off, roll off, and then you get a few bumps that add some air and detail Detail retrieval is actually really good throughout the upper mids, lower treble, and main treble region. You get some really nice details. The problem being is it is not the most resolving of those details. It's got a harshness and a graininess to it, and it just doesn't sound articulate and refined. You can hear the details, it's just they sound glare, shimmered. They just don't sound smooth and natural. It just has a way of just over accentuating it. It's not forcing it on you, and it's not pushing it on your ears, and it's not aggressive in that way. It's just, they're just not clean. And so it's all combined together. It has a decent sound that is okay, but for the price tag of $190, I just find that the Tipsy Dunmer Pro is overrated and is overpriced. If you're getting these for $125, then yeah, I would say they're probably more worth that. But it's just, the sound is just not there. It's just not refined enough. I find that if you take a IFI hip DAC and you turn the bass boost on it, the bass comes forward, and even though it kind of makes it more one note, it's more fun, and it's just more enjoyable. It's more, you can hear it and feel it. When you turn it off, it sounds anemic. Also, when you turn the bass boost on the hip DAC with the Tipsy Dunmer Pro, the mids will get a little bit of life to them, and they'll just sound more full. Sources that it works well with, the only source that it really worked well for me and that I truly enjoyed it on was the Pioneer XDP30R. Everything else, it kind of sounded shimmery and glary, but the Pioneer, it played well. It had a nice balance to it as far as being a little more smooth, and the recessed mids were still there, but they had a little more body to them, and it was more enjoyable on the XDP30R than it was on anything on the desktop or any off of my phone. The only time I really enjoyed it off my phone with a dongle was if I had the IFI hip DAC attached to it. If you're looking at the $190 to $200 price tag, I would recommend something else. I would recommend that you maybe step it up a little bit and add $50 to your budget and get yourself some Meh IEM solos, or the RHA T20s. If you're not able to go up in price, then save yourself a few pennies and get yourself a Tin Hi-Fi T4 or a Meh IEM 700 Pro. A TFZ number 3, something along those lines. So they come in this nice little box, and you open it up and it'll say, whoops, Tipsy for life, and then there is your Tipsy Dunmer Pros. Also inside the box you get a few accessories. You'll get a cleaning cloth, which is Tipsy branded. You can kind of set that down for a moment. Kind of see it on camera. It says Tipsy very lightly right down there. You'll also get a little carrying bag, which has this magnetic and spring-loaded type of top on it. Faux leather, but it works really well and they fit easily inside there. You'll get some warranty material and some tips. Unfortunately, Farsil only sent a couple of the stock tips. They were nothing special, and they didn't fit my ears, so I did use the RHA dual densities for all of my testing. The other tips that I did try on it were Dakoni bullets, newbie foams, spin fits, and spiral dots. And I just found that the RHA dual densities sounded the best. So here are the in-ears themselves, and they are pretty. I will not deny that. They're very well, nicely handmade, and you can get various designs on them. I like the design that Farsil picked here. It's kind of got a jungle look to them with the green and the orange, and then it says Tipsy lettering on there, and then they have a like a black matte type of shell. I think that's resin. Has a decent size angle. It is a little bit on the short side for a nozzle though. Has a little bit of a lip, so your tips can go on there fairly easily. RHAs are a little hard to squeeze on. Really hard to do when they're that far away from you. There we go. So they fit on there. It's kind of a big bore, but as you can see, the nozzles are quite large, and as far as diameter, and it just works well. You have a 0.78 2-pin cable, which is fabric. Reminds me of the Form, shows the Form 1.1 cable. Very nice. Do wish that the ear hooks were just a little bit more tight, but overall they're not bad. And then it goes to a metal split with a little slider that actually stays in place, which is nice, and braided. Goes down to a 3.5 with a step down, so it will fit on most phone cases. Isolation is decent. You get about 60% of outside noises canceled out. If we turn a fan on here, yeah, it's about, I would say, somewhere around 60% blocked out. So you can still hear the outside noises, but it does do a decent job for you. So if you're going to use these while walking down the street or in a quiet or office environment, something like that, they work great. I probably wouldn't use them on a train or a plane. Overall, I found that the comfort and just the overall beauty of the Tipsy Dunmer Pro, almost said Shozy, the Tipsy Dunmer Pros are very well done. I think that they're an extremely nice looking IEM, and they're fairly comfortable. I can wear them for several hours without any issues. Just wish that they were more refined. They're a good effort. They're not a bad sound. They just have flaws, and to me they're just kind of meh. They're just like, they're average. If I was to give them an A, B, C, or D grade, I'd give them a C. They're just kind of average for me. They're not terrible, but they're not great, and I just don't find them to be stellar, and I find them to be overpriced. This has been Dave with DBS Tech Talk. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on the screen is going to be a subscription link and a notification bell. If you haven't already, please check those off, and check out the links down below for playlists to the songs that were used in this review, and also for links to Patreon, PayPal, Discord, and all kinds of other things. Thanks. Have a great day.